Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to take a look at the Transformers Legacy Evolution G2 Universe Deluxe Class Sideswipe. Let me know anything of this figure in the comment section down below. Is it a pickup or a pass? Now let's take a look at the figure's packaging. So here we have the packaging. Starting at the very front, we have Transformers on the side, we have the Legacy Evolution logo at the bottom. We also do have G2 Universe Sideswipe in white text. We have a really cool artwork shot of Sideswipe in a sports car alt mode. We have an open one displaying the figure in the packaging. We have another Legacy Evolution logo at the top of the box. And of course, if we do turn to the side, there's two really cool artwork shots of Sideswipe in his robot mode. One more of a wide kind of shot with a really cool battle pose and his accessories, and more of a close-up shot of his head and chest. On the back of the box, he transforms in 16 steps. There's a product shot of him in his robot and his alt mode. And on the final side of the box, we do have half of the Legacy Evolution artwork. So if you do get another figure from the Toxitron collection, such as Laser Cycle or maybe G2 Jazz, you can put both boxes together and complete the artwork. And that is pretty much it for the packaging. So let's now get into the review. Here we have G2 Sideswipe in his robot mode. Let's take a look at the details, starting at the very top with the head sculpt with some really nice light blue for the main helmet section, with some silver for the eyes, some really nice bright yellow for this main chest region, with some more at the shoulder. And of course, the only difference between the shoulders is there's actually kind of an insignia or emblem on this one and not one present on the other one. And there's this really kind of interesting sort of sunset design on the chest as well, with a bit of light blue at the bottom as well. A different shade, of course, from the crotch and stomach, which is a bit of a darker shade of blue. And this might turn people off, of course, from actually getting this figure, because he does have a very interesting design and deco. I actually kind of like the sunset design. You can actually see there's some more panels underneath the arms, I guess near the armpit, that will mostly come into play later for the car mode, but I do like the really dark red, dark blue, and orange for the sun. I think it looks pretty cool. Definitely, of course, not my favorite use or deco using this mold so far, but still a really interesting one. This will definitely catch people's eye in your collection. And of course, there's some white for the form and some nice light blue for the hand. Same on the other side, and there's some more of that white for the top of the legs, and a darker shade of blue again for the crotch and the waist. And we have some nice light blue for the front of the legs and some silver for the feet. I just say there has been, quite a few variations and versions of this mold so far. The Kingdom and Siege releases of the Sideswipe mold are quite similar, in the build quality and design. Of course, there is a few new mold changes here and there, but the wheel design has pretty much always stayed the same. And I'm actually kind of glad, because I've always actually really liked this wheel design. Almost kind of a star or a badge design done in silver with some really nice nut and bolt detailing. And there is some, of course, blue for the tire itself. And if we do flip to the back, overall, if you've had or experienced this mold so far, you know exactly what the back looks like. It's actually very clean and sleek. That's one of the major pluses of the Sideswipe mold, Siege and Kingdom. There's never been a backpack or, arm kibble or leg kibble. Also, speaking of the back of the legs, I love this really cool kind of spray painted faded effect they actually did with the blue and the yellow. I think that looks really cool. This will mostly come into play later for the car mode. This actually does form the main back portion of the car, and it would have been nice if they actually put this more on the robot mode, instead of behind the legs, like they could have put on the fronts, the arms, the shoulders. I think that would have looked really cool in my opinion. I do have a complaint of this entire back section here. So this is like the windscreen, the clear plastic section. This actually forms kind of the window or the windscreen section for the alt mode again. Really doesn't come into play for this mode, mostly later, but I did want to mention it now because I do like clear plastic. Most of the time it really works for the figure and actually looks really cool, but probably wasn't the best idea for this figure, because I've actually seen in the past, with the Kingdom Sideswipe, I'm pretty sure the Kingdom Railer, they actually used kind of a tinted, clear plastic. It was actually a color, so you really couldn't see right through, because with this situation you can pretty much see all that's going on there, all the kibble and junk. So probably a colored piece of transparent plastic would have been better, like a Red Alert and Sideswipe. I'm pretty sure they're like red or blue or something, so you really can't see all that kibble. So maybe like a transparent blue or yellow would have been better, because that doesn't look the greatest in my opinion. But as for articulation, if you do have, any use of this mold so far, Siege or Kingdom, you pretty much know exactly what to expect here. If this is your first time experiencing the mold, I'd say it's pretty average for a deluxe class figure. So the head can look up and down, tilt side to side, look left and right. The arms can move out and in, forward and back. There is bicep rotation and elbow bends. There is no wrist rotation, mostly due to transformation. There is a full functioning waist rotation. The legs can kick forward, back, out to the side. There is rotation at the top of the leg. There is a knee bend and an ankle pivot. There is no wrist rotation, but again, as I said, there's been so many uses of this mold, Kingdom and Siege, so no real surprise there that there is no wrist rotation. Also, just deluxes in general, I'd say it's about 50% of the time that they don't have a wrist rotation, so again, not really a surprise. And it's due to transformation, so I can easily cut some slack on that. But let me quickly just straighten him up, and then we can actually cover his accessories. So there are two very recognizable accessories we've definitely seen before with Kingdom and Siege. This typical kind of rifle blaster, which is blaster piece compatible in case you're wondering. You can use the hands. There is some MechTech ports on the shoulders and arms if you want to, which is pretty cool. So you can plug them in there. There's actually one in the back, so if you actually want to store his rifle or his rocket launcher in the back, you can, which is a pretty cool feature. And again, definitely a very familiar weapon, the rocket launcher. I'm pretty sure this has come with so many versions of this mold so far. I know it's come with Sideswipe, probably Red Alert as well, and a lot of the Siege ones. I actually quite like this weapon. So mold-wise, of course, with the rifle, it is the same, but there is actually a mold change with this one. I don't have every, use of the Siege one. I'm pretty sure I've have every use of the Kingdom one. I think there's only been 3, Red Alert, Sideswipe, and this one that I know of. This is actually a brand new thing. So it's a very minute, small mold change, but interesting enough, this post here is a lot smaller and skinnier. If you do check Red Alert and Sideswipe, which I did, I will bring out Sideswipe in just a sec for a mold comparison, but their posts are actually a lot thicker and bigger. For some reason, this is a lot thinner and smaller. I'm not really sure why they made this change. Maybe they were just trying to save money, or maybe there's some, breakage problem that they were trying to fix. Maybe they'll let us know someday. I do know Hasbro does actually those kind of Q&A events at like some of the conventions, so maybe someday we could actually ask them and they'll give us an answer. I really don't know. But of course, you can store this in the hand. There is that post there and the port. I typically actually like to store it on the shoulder with this tab and slot. And I think that looks the best there. And again, there is a port on the back, so you can also use that as well. But there we have the accessories. Let's now get down to some comparisons. So here he is with the original Kingdom Sideswipe from the Battle Cross Time Amazon exclusive pack. So mold-wise, of course, the accessories are the same, of course, minus that smaller change with that post. This one's a bit bigger on this one, a bit smaller on that one. A very minute change. I really don't know why they did that. As for the actual figure itself, I'm pretty sure they took the head sculpt or the head from Red Alert and, of course, used Sideswipe's body. I think that's the only change. If you do compare it with Red Alert, I'm pretty sure it's the exact same thing. Of course, Red Alert did come with that light bar piece because he does transform into sort of an ambulance, so that's another kind of accessory change. So a bit of a kind of a merge between Sideswipe and Red Alert, which is actually pretty cool. But I think they overall look pretty cool side by side. Really just a matter of opinion of which deco you prefer. I had to say probably of the 3 Kingdom uses of this mold so far, I think probably Red Alert is my favorite. Let me know in the comments which one's your favorite. And now for another comparison, here he is with G2 Dead Ends, and his review is up on the channel right now. Make sure you go check it out after this one. And for one final comparison, another one part of the Wave, the Toxitron collection, Laser Cycle, and his review is coming very soon on the channel as well. And that is pretty much it for comparisons and this mode. Let's now get down to transformation. Now for transformation, what you're going to want to do is fold in the hands like that. Do the same thing on the other arm. Then you're going to untab the chest and stomach region and then just hinge this entire panel up to form the front portion of the sports car alt mode. And how this is connected and tabbed into places, there is a slot there and a tab right there. I actually do tend to push the head back because this panel is actually going to cover the face. I don't want it to scrape against the head and cause any paint chips. Of course, mostly a precaution measure. It probably won't happen. I just don't want any damage to be on the head or face. Then you're going to hinge this panel down and cover up the head just like that. Hinge the arms out just for some added clearance. Then you're going to fold these panels out just like that. As you can see, there's this huge open space. You're actually going to fill it in with the arms. You're going to bend at the elbow and hinge all this in to fill all that space up. Same thing on the other side. Just hinge that in. And there is a slot and tab right there. Fold that panel down. Tab and slot. Fold that down. Then you're going to rotate at the waist. Then you're actually going to flip around. Open up these panels at the front of the legs. And then you're going to push these sections in to actually fill the space on the back of the leg. So of course it used to look like that. You're going to want it to look like this for the alt mode. So just push this in, filling in that space. Then you're going to fold in the feet. And then you're going to tab the legs together using that tab and slot. And then you're going to fold all of this in to form the back portion of the sports car alt mode. Just like that. Then you're going to flip to the bottom. There is a huge slot there and 2 tabs there. And this will actually just kind of fill in and completes the underside of the sports car alt mode. And that is pretty much it for transformation. Let's now take a look at the details. Here we have G2 Sideswipe in his sports car alt mode. Let's take a look at the details. Starting at the very front, we have some really nice clear plastic for this entire window or windscreen section, which typically it does work for the figure, but unfortunately in this case and in this scenario, not the best. You can actually see the back of the head there and all this kibble and junk, so it probably would have been better if they maybe used like some transparent blue or like yellow to really cover up all that junk and kibble. They could use like a tinted like gray or black. That would have just looked so much better. They probably should have taken a few design cues and traits from the past releases of this mode, like Kingdom Sideswipe, the original. He actually has this really nice metallic blue for his windows and windscreen, which looks 1,000 times better. You'll actually see it in just a sec for a mold on mold vehicle mode comparison. You'll see, and it just looks so much better. Probably one of the major glaring issues on this figure that are definitely an improvement over the past releases. They probably could have done better with that, but I do love this really nice bright yellow for this main hood section with the really cool sculpted in headlights with a really cool kind of sunset design. You can see there, which of course some people might not like. I actually think looks pretty cool with the really cool dark clouds, the red and the dark blue and orange, and a little bit of blue there. And if we do turn to the side, there's some more on the side there, and some more of that clear plastic. It definitely looks a bit better on the side. You can't see as much kibble there. And the really cool kind of star badge design, which overall rolls pretty well across the ground. And I'm pretty sure all four wheels are mushroom peg, but this is kind of one of those scenarios and situations where I really don't care that it's a mushroom peg, because you can barely tell, because there is some situations with Deluxes and Voyagers where the mushroom peg is kind of open and exposed and looks super ugly. So as long as it's covered up, it really doesn't bother me. Of course, would I prefer pinned wheels? Of course, any day I would. Unfortunately, you can obviously tell the difference between paint and plastic there. It's not the worst I've ever seen. I've seen way worse figures where it's super obvious. So they probably could have been a bit better, but definitely not the worst I've seen. And the really cool kind of spray paints is sort of faded blue and yellow on the back. I think that looks absolutely awesome with the really cool layers and panels, kind of venting detailing back there. And overall, just a really cool looking sports car in my opinion. So now for some vehicle mode comparisons. Here he is with the first version or a variation of this mold, the Kingdom Battlecross Time Sideswipe. One thing that's definitely an improvement on this figure over that one is that metallic blue for the windscreen and windows looks so much better, so much better. So definitely this vehicle is a lot better than this one in my opinion. But I have to say I love that kind of faded yellow blue. That's probably one of the saving things about this mode in my opinion. But it's really just a matter of, which deco you prefer. There is the Red Alert one, which that one turns in kind of an ambulance, but probably of the three, I might like the Sideswipe the most of the deco-wise. But of the robot mode, I think I probably like Red Alert the most. And now for another vehicle mode comparison. Here is with the Toxitron Collection Deluxe Class Dead End. I think they overall look pretty cool side by side. And for one final comparison, here he is with the G2 Jazz, another figure from the Toxitron collection, and his review is coming very soon on the channel. Make sure you stay tuned for that. And I think these two Deluxes are probably one of the most figures that I've ever seen that are actually hard to look at. They're actually very bright and will definitely stick out in your collection for newcomers. Very bright colored figures, but actually look pretty cool side by side. But now for accessory storage, it's kind of up to you. Of course, there's a MechTech port on top, there's some on the sides. Really just up to you how you want it slim. Of course, you can leave them off to the side. I actually typically like to get the rifle here and store this on the side using that post and port system that we're used to. And then I get the rocket launcher here and actually store this on the top. I think that looks the best there. But that's just the configuration I like. Of course, you can completely mix that up if you wanted to. Really just how you would like to display them. But that is pretty much it for the accessory storage and this mode. Let's now get down to reverse transformation. So you're just going to remove the accessories. Then you're going to flip to the bottom, open up these panels just like that, and then you're just going to unravel and kind of completely extend the legs and just rotate at the waist. I actually learned a bit of a trick. Of course, you could try and, pick the feet out of there, but you might scratch the paint. I actually learned a pretty cool trick. If you just move the legs back, it'll actually kind of push the feet out automatically, so then you don't have to, pick at them and scratch the paint. So if you didn't know that, now you know something like a pretty cool trick with this figure. Then you can actually split the legs in half, close these panels. There's a tab and slot right there, just like that. And then what you can do is actually open up these panels here, like that, and then you can flip this other panel out from covering the head, and then you can bring the arms out, fold out the hands, and there is a tab there and a slot right there. And then of course these panels will just fold in like that, and that's just going to fold down and tab into place just like that. And then let me just put him into a neutral pose. And that is pretty much it for the reverse transformation for Sideswipe. Let's now get down to the final thoughts. Now for the final thoughts for the Transformers Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class G2 Universe Sideswipe. Overall, I think this is just a crazy deco and a crazy figure. If you don't know, this is actually using the Kingdom Sideswipe mold. I actually originally thought when I purchased this figure they were going to be using the Siege Sideswipe mold, but I was actually incorrect. And if you don't know, this is actually a pretty hard to come by figure. I think there's only been a total of 3 uses or 3 variations of this mold. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Of course, there's been this Sideswipe from the Toxitron collection, a Walmart exclusive line. There is also a Red Alert that was a Walgreens exclusive figure using that same, Kingdom Sideswipe mold. No new molding, I'm pretty sure, other than a head sculpt, but the accessories were the same, of course, with the inclusion of a light bar piece, but other than that, no other new molding or new accessories. And of course, there was the original use, the Kingdom Sideswipe. That was in an Amazon exclusive pack called the Battle Cross Time. That was a few years back. So I think there's only been 3 versions. So if you were never able to get those 2 previous versions, of course, now you actually have a perfect opportunity to get this figure now. I think, of course, of the 3 versions, this definitely isn't my favorite, but I just love the crazy color scheme. I'm actually kind of glad they used this version, the Kingdom version of Sideswipe, and not the Siege one, because I definitely think there's been more uses and repaints of the Siege one. I'm getting a bit tired of them, so I'm kind of glad they're moving on to this more modern day use of the mold. And I think it's probably, just in my opinion, I think the Kingdom Sideswipe mold is better than the Siege one. Let me know in the comments which one do you prefer, the more Cybertronian based or more the Earth based, the Kingdom release. Personally, I prefer the Kingdom one. As for the figure itself, the alt mode just looks absolutely crazy. I do love the kind of faded blue in the back, and I do love the wheel design with the almost kind of badge star design in the center done in silver, and there's some really nice blue for the wheels. I'm pretty sure they are mushroom peg wheels, but I really don't care if it's a situation like this where you can barely tell it's a mushroom peg wheel. There's some situation, of course, you can actually fully see the exposed mushroom peg and they're really ugly, but if it's covered up like this, I really don't care. It overall rolls really well pretty much on any surface. I do love the really cool kind of sunset details on the sides of the car with the clouds and the sun and the red. There's some more on the front hood there, and the really bright yellow definitely does catch your eye. If you put this figure in your collection, it will definitely, of course, be a standout for most people seeing your collection for the first time. I think their eyes will be drawn to it. I do like the clear plastic for the windscreen, but unfortunately you can see quite a bit of kibble with the engineering, not like, of course, robot mode kibble like the head or anything, but there's just a lot of hinges and like screws in there, which doesn't look the best. I do like the clear plastic, but what probably would have been better if they used like tinted, plastic, like maybe they could have put like transparent yellow or like orange or blue. I think that probably would have been better because it doesn't look the greatest from certain angles and views. As for transformation, it is so straightforward and fun. If you've never experienced this figure before, if you've never gotten any version of this mold, Siege or Kingdom, it's actually very straightforward. Yes, it is more on the simplistic side, but it's actually kind of nice to have a figure that's just so easy and simple. You only need the instructions like once and then you have it down like that. I do like complex transformations, but this is definitely a figure for you if you want something to fiddle with. If you don't want to transform things some super complex like maybe Commander Class Jetfire or Commander Class Rodimus Prime or Armada Optimus Prime. This is a perfect figure for you if you just want to transform things super easy back and forth. Definitely choose a version of the mold or this character here. As for the robot mode, it's overall, pretty much exactly what you expect. There is no new molding on the figure itself. He does come with the same accessories, the rocket launcher and the blaster. Interesting enough, with the rockets, there is actually some new molding that I was not expecting. No one ever actually mentioned this in the reviews or on the Transformers news sites. If you do remove the rocket, the entire, post of how it connects to the holster is different. I'm not entirely sure why they did that. I actually did check with the Red Alert version and the Sideswipe version, and their rockets are the same. This one is the only different one. Again, not really sure why they did that. I will, of course, have showed that difference a little bit earlier in the review, so if you missed that, of course, make sure you go back and check that out. It really doesn't, of course, make a difference as appearance because typically it's covered up by the other rocket piece, but it's a mold change nonetheless, which I guess is good. But as for the blaster itself, it's the same one. There's no changes there, and both of them are plastic piece compatible in case you're wondering. Articulation for this figure, if you do have any of the Siege or Kingdom releases, pretty much what to expect. If you've never experienced this mold, I'd say it's overall pretty average for a deluxe class figure. Unfortunately, he does not have a wrist rotation, but that's mostly due to transformation, and it's a deluxe. I would have to say, about 50% of the time with deluxes, they don't always have a wrist rotation. Usually it's, of course, due to transformation, so it really doesn't bother me. If this was like a Voyager Leader, of course, I would definitely expect a wrist rotation. He does have a waist rotation, the legs really well articulated, and again, I just love this crazy color scheme with the sunset pieces, the blue and yellow, very bright yellow. It's a really interesting deco. I definitely think this figure isn't for everyone. Some people probably will think this deco is a bit ugly. I think it actually looks pretty cool and unique in my opinion. Definitely definitely will stand out in your collection. I do hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of this figure, and of course of the 3 versions so far using this Kingdom Sideswipe mold. We have Sideswipe, Kingdom Sideswipe from the Amazon exclusive pack, and of course Red Alert. Which one is your favorite? I have to say, if I were to choose one right now, probably Red Alert is my favorite. I think that's pretty much it, so I'll see you next time.